1986, light blue stonewashed jeans so tight they're a health hazard. Reflective aviators that could blind a suspect from 50 yards. And a matchstick that's doing more heavy lifting than most actors' entire careers. This is Cobra, the film critics absolutely savaged with an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, but we love it anyway. And you know what? 39 years later, we were right. Welcome to Get to the Cheddar. Hello, welcome to Get to the Cheddar. I am once again joined by my Ministry of Mayhem, that is Mr. Malcolm Martin. Hello, how are you, Malcolm?
Hi Matt, great mate, and what a choice today. I'm really excited about today because, as you said, um, there's so many contradictions about Cobra, and for me, if I start the introduction first, obviously you and I both know, and it is quite common knowledge now that he was meant to be doing Beverly Hills Cop, which blows my
Hmm.
mind because now we've seen Beverly Hills Cop and Eddie Murphy and the type of film it is, which is an all-time classic, which stands the test of time. I cannot imagine Sly's Beverly Hills Cop. He left because he wanted it to be his trademark action and was then offered Cobra, which again, I know you've done a lot of research on this, was heavily touted at first as a dark horror film. But again,
Yeah.
Sly got his hand in for the writing credits and he changed it to a Stallone film that people know and love. And of course, if you and I, we love cannon fodder, and this for me was Cannon's attempt to really go big time. This is the one of the A-list stars. Cannon have now got Sylvester Stallone, and despite what everybody says, because people say it was a huge flop, Matt, it wasn't. Cobra was a hit that year. It was a hit. But when they say flop, it wasn't the immense success that Canon were hoping for that was said that, like you know, we are now an A-list studio. It was a hit, but it wasn't a mega hit blockbuster. So in history has relegated to it a flop, which I think is unfair. And for me, it's the
Hmm.
template. If you wanted to make an 80s action movie, your introduction, which was superb, by the way, alluded to the fact that this, in terms of style, you've got the car with its awesome 50 number plate. You've got the shades. You've got the matchstick. You've got the one-liners, a la Schwarzenegger. You've got, how many power ballads do we have in this movie? You've got the OTT car chase, which again, by 80 standards, brilliantly done. And then you've got the explosion heavy, action heavy third act. And it was
Hmm.
Stallone's attempt to make Dirty Harry from the 70s. And there's clear links. You've got the co-stars Reni Santoni and Andrew Robinson, who were both in Dirty Harry. What he does is he cleverly puts Andrew Robinson against type. He was the serial killer in Dirty Harry, and he makes him the uptight police detective who gets everything totally wrong in this. And he takes Rennie as his partner, just like Harry had. And for me, Cobretti is his version of Dirty Harry. And you put it all together, and for me, if you wanted to show one films that screams 80s, it's this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, most of what you said there. Yeah, it was made on about a 25 million budget and returned about 43 to 48 million originally at the cinema. So that's not a failure. And it was, I think what it was, I think everybody was expecting a more, I don't know, a bit, dare I say, light and fluffy when we come to Stallone, but more Rambo-esque. This was dark. It was extraordinarily violent for one of his films. I actually, until recently, thought this was actually his answer to Commando, but it's actually not. As you suggested, it was originally meant to be the original Beverly Hills Cop. He pivoted away to do this, while obviously that film went on to do great things. And this one was actually to be competition for Top Gun, of all things. Now, as we know, the real competition was in our last episode, which was Navy SEALs. That was the real competition, not for Top Gun. But yes, so Cobra going up against Top Gun when it had to be cut several times because of the level of violence in it. The MPAA in America and what is the BBFC here in the UK kept cutting the film because it originally got X ratings, so because it was just too violent. But we'll get on to that later. What we need to do is sort of delve into the story a bit so people can, understand where we're going. And the film opens. Now it opens with the New World cult. They're banging axes together like it's a heavy metal Zumba class or something. I don't know. They're sort of ding ding, and I've noticed for the first time because I was watching the Arrow 4K cut disc that was recently released. Which, if you want to watch this film, watch it on that because it looks amazing. Um, and that's not an advert, by the way. That's just the way I watched it. The You can actually see more of the New World cult, and there's a couple of them in business suits. So they're not all heavy metal bikers. They're all, there's a dude randomly at the back in a suit, and that threw me a little bit. But anyway, we'll come on to that later. So there's this cult, and they're causing problems, and we then cut to Christmas at the local supermarket. Now, it's as we said, this now puts it inside the genre, the same as Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and I Come in Peace, or Dark Angel as it was known in the UK, as Christmas action films. So, Cobra now sits quite nicely, and that's probably why we're releasing this in December. Yes, so you have Mr. Cobretti in the coolest opening. There's a guy who claims everybody's a disease who's taken over a supermarket, started shooting the place up with a sawn-off shotgun. And so they've called in the zombie squad because they can't deal with this guy because he's just going to kill everybody. So they call in Cobretti, who steps out. Boot comes out first. Now, this is something else I picked up. There's a lot of close-ups on people's boots in this film. Brian Thompson's boots gets loads of close-ups. You've got Stallone in his stonewashed jeans and his Chelsea boot thing. Lots of boots, don't know why. Anyway, so he gets out the car. He gets out the car. Now, Cobretti is not the kind of guy who likes to negotiate. I mean, he doesn't negotiate. He doesn't even haggle. The man sees a price tag and he calls it a threat and puts bullets in it. So, this is the man who is sent in to do a specific job, and this is probably the coolest opening in any 80s movie, and in fact, quite a lot of action movies. He goes into the supermarket and he enters he goes in the front and comes in round the back via the chillers. I don't understand the actual mapping of this supermarket, but that's by the by. So Stallone is creeping around trying to get a good sort of level so he can shoot him. At one point, something I noticed, he comes up by a chiller where there is Pepsi, who I think is probably paid placement because Pepsi is featured throughout this film. He's got at his house, there's a neon Pepsi board and all this kind of stuff. So, in the cabinet, there are Pepsi free. Now, for Back to the Future lovers, when Michael J. Fox goes back to 1955, he asks for Pepsi free. Now, when he does that, everybody in the UK just goes, "What? What is that?" No one knows. Well, in Cobra, you can see what a Pepsi free is. It's on the shelf. So there we go. Anyway, so he throws a can to distract the disease killer. I don't know what else to call him, who's in a long jacket with his toy bomb and sawn-off shotgun, and he stalks him down, and we get the infamous line, "You're the disease, I'm the meat, or I'm the cure, not meet the cure." But he says, "I'm the cure," and he blows the guy away. I mean, he just literally, I mean, puts holes in this guy, and he takes off.
I'm a hero of the new world.
You're a disease, and I'm the cure.
Side note on the gun, Stallone actually had that made, that piece with the Cobra on it. That was actually made specifically for him. He got it. It's not just a prop. He actually got that made. I think whether he still has it, probably somewhere. So yes, so there we have it. So he blows away this guy, and then the furore with the media and everybody. This is where the Dirty Harry thing comes in. Oh, you were too violent. Did you really need excessive force? And Stallone's throwing out quips left, right, and centre. I used everything I had, which almost sounds Rocky. But yeah, so and away we go. So there is the opening to this film. It sets the
Matt,
scene.
what he does is he does the very Dirty Harry thing there. He grabs the reporter that's really getting at him and drags him to the shooter's victim, pulls the bag back and sticks his head to his and said, "What about his rights? What about him?" But when you mentioned cool lines as well, on the trailer, one of the things that hooked me immediately is when the scumbag says, "I'm going to blow this place up," and he says, "Go ahead, I don't shop here." I
Yeah,
mean, those are the sort of
perfect.
lines we get, and it's you're right. For me, the opening it not only sets him up as Dirty Harry. Forget the '80s; it's just class opening, and then when you get out, the Dirty Harry comparisons continue because everyone else in the force is sort of like, Cobretti, why do you keep doing this? You know, you can't get this, you can't do that. Andy Robinson, as I said, playing against type intentionally is like, you're a Neanderthal, we don't need you around. And picking up on what you said about the New World Order, everybody thinks, don't they, that it's a single serial killer, that there's one
Mm,
chap on the loose. And one of the things that really gets me is this opening extends beyond the supermarket. We then get
mm.
Cobretti, who's done a great job and yet been browbeaten going back. He goes to park outside his condo, and you've got the Latino gang boys there that won't move even though he beeps the horn. So in this amazing car of his, he just shunts them forward. The guy jumps out, gives him all the grief with his mates. He tears his shirt, and the guy just sort of wets himself and runs off until Stallone's gone. Then he runs back and he kicks the hubcap. He goes into his apartment. We know he's a loner. We know he doesn't worry about eating properly. We have the infamous scissor scenes with the pizza, which in a film with, as you said, with so much going on and so many cuts, the fact that people are fixated on the fact that he cuts this pizza with the scissors. But what it does, Matt, is perfectly set up Cobretti's life, what he's like, his values. You won't get a better 15-minute opening to an action film that sets the stall out perfectly. Now, you know my thoughts on this. Sadly, I don't think the film ever reaches those heights again because the scene with the Latino gang boys is quietly hilarious. Um, as you said, he's looking out over, and there's billboards and neon lights, so you know he's not going to get a good night's sleep in darkness. That's where he chooses to live because he's in the zombie squad. Sleep is for wussies. What a perfect setup. And then obviously we have to introduce the actual plot with Brigitte Nielsen.
Exactly. Now, just before we come to there is something I was actually going to mention about the supermarket, which I actually forgot. There's a bit where Stallone is creeping down through the chiller section. Now, for some bizarre reason, half of the chiller doors are open. So, but there's all this dry ice seeping out. Or, obviously it's the chillers, but it's not like sort of just it's like gushing out like we're in a flipping Top of the Pops episode and they're just putting the dry ice on the side. I mean, it's absolutely teeming out. And there's people just standing there with these kind of expressions on their face, like they're sort of been told, right, don't move. I mean, I don't know what, George Cosmatos was told them, or it might have been Stallone, because there is some discussion that actually Stallone pretty much directed the film and Cosmatos was there to just deal with the studio. But I mean, I should have brought it up, but yeah, this bit where he walks through the chillers is absolutely bananas. I mean, I've never seen so much dry ice. I mean, literally, it's like waist height. So it's like this supermarket has a problem. I think they need to turn the cold down a bit. But anyway, yes. So yes, to the Hispanics who we will see later on in Hard to Kill, because they they seem to be the du jour sort of early opening protagonist for the hero to sort of knock about. But I just want to say we know that Stallone is a completely over the edge and complete psycho, not because he's cutting the pizza with scissors, but because he's cutting the pizza sideways with scissors. I mean, if you're going to cut slices, fine, but cutting it across to make a triangle, borderline psycho, or probably over the edge psycho is all I can say there. But yeah, so he's in his flat. We've done all that, and now we're introduced to Brigitte Nielsen, who is called Ingrid Knudsen. Knudsen. She's a model. She's a supermodel. And she is driving her Jeep. Everybody seems to drive Jeeps or vans in this film. Other than Stallone's uh, his supercar thing, which I did write down what it is, and I've forgotten. It's a 50 something, but that was his car. He uses that car throughout. He actually drove to and from the set in that car. Um, and he
Wouldn't
revisits. Well, yeah, it's a pretty cool car. He also revisits it in the Expendables. The front of his truck is actually the same as that car. It's like a flatbed version of that car. It probably is that car being refashioned, but I don't know that for certain, so I can't say that as fact. But yeah, so Ingrid is driving a Jeep, and she has to drive under an underpass. And this is something else I picked up on in this film. Don't drive through underpasses because there's lots of crazy violence going on all the time in underpasses. So don't go on underpasses. She happens to not realize, but she's just missed the latest murder by the New World Order. And Brian Thompson stands there literally in the middle of the road staring. I mean, he couldn't look any more guilty if he tried. I mean, I mean, Brian Thompson's jawline deserved its own IMDb credit. I mean, that thing could deflect bullets. He's just like that. Yeah,
Matt,
iron jaw. He,
let's be honest here. As the night slasher, Brian Thompson is one of the best things about the movie. As you said, that
mm,
look, that face. When he puts the mask on to hide his face and the nose is squashed and just the eyes are cut
yeah,
out.
and just the
I
eyes
mean,
cut out. Yeah,
I know he's not the only serial killer. He's their totem leader. But the
yeah,
point is, as you said, when he's just stood there staring, it's like that I don't give a monkey's attitude and he stares at
yeah.
her. But we've seen these sort of guys before. He just emitted genuinely scary, so it's a nice setup as this contradiction to Stallone. And a
Mm.
little bit of trivia here. The funny thing is, Brian Thompson is known in Hollywood as one of the nicest, most educated family men in the business, and yet he readily says his whole career and all his money has been made on that look, and only being given the opportunity to play nasty people, which is a shame, but it certainly works as the night slasher.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about his character, he's constantly sweating. Like, not just like beads. He's like soaked the whole time. I don't know whether he's got some kind of nervous disposition, or he's a Lee Evans tribute act. I don't know, but he constantly sweats. Anyway, so I'm digressing again. So Brigitte Nielsen has witnessed this murder but doesn't realise. And she drives off, and away we go. We cut away. We now cut to Stallone and his partner just suddenly turning up at the autopsy. There's no explanation why they're there. They're just there. And Stallone's he's not even paying attention. He's just fiddling around. But the thing about we learn about Cobra is Cobra's figured it all out already. He realizes it's more than one person, and the rest of the police and like, don't be so ridiculous. How can you know? And Stallone's, yeah, there's multiple stab wounds. It's multiple people. It's not one person. They're all in different places. It couldn't happen that way. And then he's just sort of flicking through things and being rather nonchalant. And then Andrew Robinson, whose character was meant to play a bigger part in the film, but his scenes got cut. He was meant to literally be the foil. It's like a separate investigation going on at the same time, which we kind of see shades of, but they took most of that out, probably quite rightly. Um, but yeah, so Stallone and his partner are given Gonzalez are given license to go and conduct their investigation. Cue montage number one, where they're in the streets. They've got
And the big
this
power ballad, number
the big
one.
power ballad. Yeah, so they've got this power ballad, which I should have probably found out what it was called. I can't remember. I'll probably put it down the bottom here. What it is when I go and look it up is playing, and most of these montages are, sort of fairly active in this. This is them in sex shops and CD bars asking people. You can't even see what they're saying because the music's playing so heavy over the top of it. An occasional, the occasional, we'll come on to the picture. Oh, dearie me, that made me laugh later on. So they're trying to, on no evidence, try and find the New World Order. It's an absolutely bizarre sequence. It just doesn't, it looks like it's in the wrong place.
But Matt,
It's just,
talking about bizarre, the photo shoot for the model for
oh,
to let us know that Brigitte Nielsen is a supermodel with the robots and again the dry ice and this power ballad and Bridget at 6 foot doing her best. Look at me, I'm a supermodel. I mean, when we talk about the 80s excesses, as you said, this montage for me is perfect because don't forget the other part three of that montage is Thompson getting ready. He's been told by what we find out later is a bent cop, his female
yeah.
accomplice, that Bridget's got to go. She's seen your face. She's got to go. So he's getting ready to, and ironically, again, when you talk about things that don't quite make sense, they just know where she happens to be filming her
Yeah, yeah.
montage. So you've got the boys in the sex shops asking all these strippers and people what we think is, do you know where they're hiding out? No, we're just punting for customers. Her doing her incredible photo shoot. I want to add a little bit later when we've gone through this about David Rash, which is quite funny, the photographer. And then we've got Thompson and his protege, the policewoman, egging him on to say, you've got to do this, you've got to kill her. I mean, that montage for me, Matt, it's priceless in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. So Stallone, 80s, robots again. I mean, you literally the year previous in Rocky Four, well, another Christmas movie, action movie, he has this stupid robot in it. This one, he's got lots of robots in it, and his then wife. In a swimming costume that doesn't entirely look like it's fitting correctly.
Mm.
There is, I mean, I know we talk about these films because we love them, but this is another one of these staples. The ill-fitting female costumes that really, it's like they find the smallest pieces of material ever. We had the same problem in Hard to Kill with Kelly LeBrock, but so you've got this bizarre sequence where they're doing this photo shoot, and they get to the end of the photo shoot, and we then witness what is possibly sexual harassment of a Harvey Weinstein scale
Yes.
in the car park of him basically telling her she's got to sleep with him to forward her career, not because she wants to, but because, he's probably a good bet. I was just like, I was slack-jawed. I was like, this guy deserves to die. And then, of course, that's when the New World Order turn up and start slashing the car park up. And I say slashing the car park up because they're all running around with axes, and there's all these very low pipes. And every time they take a swing, they're doing overhead swings, and they seem to either hit a wall, a pipe. They get a couple of people. They get some poor bloke who comes out of nowhere who's carrying Christmas presents. He gets walloped. We didn't even see him. He just suddenly appears. And then the photographer, who you're going to speak about, he gets done over. And then she manages to do the best RoboCop impression and go and hide down on the lower levels and is just staring like
I
this
wonder if it's the
while we
same
get close.
car park, Matt, because you're dead right.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's the same car park because it's virtually the same role, isn't it?
yeah,
You're
there
right.
were a few things. There were a few things in this film where I thought, "Is this RoboCop?" Because the warehouse at the end looks very
Yes,
similar.
yes.
Looks very similar. And yeah, there are lots of nods to, and the top of the car park and the where they're meeting in the cars. There is so many, and the skylines. I don't know whether it was filmed in Detroit. Again, something I should probably look up. Do my research properly. But I will do this, and I'll flash it up at the bottom again if it is actually Detroit. But I will find out. But yeah, so this car park is getting torn up. We get another big close up on Brian Thompson's boots. I don't know whether the shoes were sponsored, but he's got these big boots, which you can see he's got like giant platforms on the bottom of them, which give him an extra bit, extra few inches, to make him look more intimidating. Anyway, so this poor old police officer, security guard on the top floor realizes that Brigitte Nielsen's forgotten her bag. How she can realize she's forgotten her bag, I don't know. But anyway, so he runs down with the bag to get himself murdered. Yeah, poor bloke. He brings a bag to Brigitte Nielsen. We don't know if she ever gets her bag. We just know that the copper gets murdered. But then they get disturbed because sirens, all that kind of stuff, and so they leg it off. And she somehow manages to get herself to the police.
Well, just before
Which,
that, Matt, as I
yeah,
said, when we tie everything in, David Rash, who played the misogynistic photographer, although in
mm,
his defence, he did say, I'm not asking you to marry me. It's only a short-term thing. He's not all bad. Um, David Rash, and there's an ironic link here. We've been doing the whole Dirty Harry thing.
mm,
He found long-term fame as Sledgehammer in the TV
yeah,
series, which was an absolute Mickey take of the Dirty Harry tropes. Sledge was Dirty Harry as a
mm,
moron. And I find it that all these little things that link in, but and as you said, if she finds her way to the police and her find their way mutually to the hospital. That's where she's going to meet
yeah,
Stallone. But I want, before you carry on with the narrative, one of the things that bugged me throughout the movie is no matter how many clues, no matter how many hints, now she's the first real witness. As you mentioned previously, it's only Stallone that ever wants to go down that route. The rest of the force going, "You're an idiot. What are you on about? No wonder you're in the zombie squad." How much evidence throughout this film accumulates and masses, and they're still going, "He doesn't know what he's on about." They get their first wave here, and at the hospital, it's all just like, "You're kidding me. Here he goes again, you know." And before him and Brigitte make their first tentative romantic links, I mean, the dialogue between these two during the film, Matt, is clash for all the wrong
You do wonder if
reasons.
this is how they spoke when they actually met.
You know what? You're taking the words out of my mouth today again with the preempting the Robocop scenarios, maybe the shared, and exactly that, because we know it was a short-lived marriage, but they were at the peak of their lovey-dovey marriage in this, and Rocky Four, I think, wasn't it? They were happily married at that time. But the dialogue, when she asks Reni, doesn't she, his partner, what's he like? And he actually says, "Oh, that cool brooding guy in the corner is Cobretti." I mean, Reni. I mean, how to sort of like Mr. Exposition Man, but it's like as if we don't already know with the coat, the matchstick, the gun, the car. He goes, "That cool brooding guy, he's Cobretti. You know, he's not like everybody else. He thinks of it." And the immediate look she gives with the best Bridget can act is just like, oh, here we go. As a setup for those two romantically, I loved it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, and they're in the LA hospital, right? So this is a clue. They probably did film it in LA, and we're probably just thinking, but I will check where they did film it and all that. Now, the LA hospital, unlike the hospital that Mr. Steven Seagal was in 1990 for 7 years, that both have a similar problem. There are no, there's like one nurse in the entire hospital until the alarms go off, and we'll come to that in a minute. But
Yeah.
it looks like a shopping mall to begin with. They're going up escalators and all this kind of stuff. It honestly looks like they're going shopping. Anyway, in this scene where they meet, they have the two, Cobretti and Gonzalez, chatting with Ingrid. Um, Again, they're doing this thing where Stallone is fiddling around. He's eating her food. And then kind of an off the cuff remark, "You didn't want it, did you?" Well, not now. Not now you've slobbered all over it. Good grief. Yeah, so he's just fiddling through stuff. And you're just like, mate, what are you doing? I mean, I suppose because he's already got it figured out. So he
Yeah.
doesn't actually need to ask any questions. But until I watched it again last night in 4K, I didn't realize, I thought his long jacket was black. It's actually olive green. So it's very, very interesting. And Stallone has this thing where his tops change. There's no continuity. His tops just randomly change throughout the movie. And again, we will come on to that.
Probably
So,
because
but he
Brian
is in.
sweated on him.
Man, that's what it is. Yeah, or Ingrid. Yeah, she drooled on him.
Ingrid, yeah.
Uh,
Wheeled up,
so,
yeah.
so anyway, so he's in this hospital and he's still got his sunglasses on. I mean, a bit Blues Brothers esque. I mean, Stallone's sunglasses in this film are so dark the studio still can't see the original cut. I mean, that's how bad this is. There must be scenes missing because, or things trimmed out because some of this just simply sort of, like you said, the sequence in the underground garage and the thing, they just suddenly turn up, like you said, before we get to the hospital. Well, apparently they do watch her for longer, and there is another sequence, but they trimmed all this out. So this is why it kind of jumps about a bit. The other thing that it did dawn on me last night was if they had CCTV, this film would have been over in 10 minutes because
Yeah.
Brian doesn't, he gets out of the car, then puts his mask on. It's yeah, if there was CCTV, we'd be done. It'd be sorted, but there isn't. Anyway, um, so yeah, so they move on and they then get this, they've got this dude who is to do the photo fit thing, right? And he's doing this drawing, right? I, I'm sorry, but this pencil drawing looks like it was done by a 5-year-old. I mean, it's literally just a round head, two little eyes, and hair. And he gives him some high cheekbones. That's what really made me laugh. He gives him some high cheekbones. Um, I mean, literally, this guy's being paid by the police force to draw these pictures. I mean, it was literally looks like it's been done with a crayon. It,
But
it
Matt,
was
Brigitte
the
Nielsen
most
goes,
stupid thing.
yeah, that's him. She
Yeah,
actually goes, yeah, that's
well, she
him.
said she went, that's sort of like him. And it's like, yeah, sort of, as in nothing like him at all. Yes. I mean, oh man. Yeah. So, I mean, so the entire investigation is now based on this crayon drawing, this Crayola drawing by the bloke in the corner who we never see again.
It's
So,
straight out of
yeah,
Naked Gun, isn't it? It's straight
it,
out of the Naked Gun, that scene.
that's probably where they took the joke from. I mean, it is honestly, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so they get all this information and they just leave her. They just leave. And apparently they've left police there. We don't know. They mention this later on, but we don't actually see any of this. So Stallone goes back to his house, probably to cut up some more pizza. He bumped into the Hispanic crew again, who moved the car out of the way and ushering him in now because they're his bitches now because he made them look stupid. And we go back to his flat, okay? And he's in his flat. He's got the entire crime database in his flat. He's got all the photo fit books, which he's flicking through. And then he's it's another one of these sort of semi-montage sequences. He's looking at this thing and doing the thing, and she's in the hospital, and we find out that Brian and crew are heading to the hospital to do her in. And he's got these bits of paper that he's just flinging around. He's not even looking at them, he's just flinging them behind the computer. He's like, no, not that one. I mean, yeah, how he actually does any investigations because he's chucked stuff all around his house. Can't It's not very neat. Anyway, he then gets a phone call from Gonzalez a few minutes later saying, "Yeah, I'm at the station. What do you want?" And Stallone goes, "What do you mean? You're meant to be at the hospital." "No, you told me to come here." "No, I didn't." So how does he not recognize Stallone's voice on the phone? I mean, I know a lot of people do impressions, but surely he would have gone, "Hang
Yeah.
on, this is not you, Cobretti. Who is this masked caller?" It's the dumbest thing.
Well,
So anyway,
it was actually the undercover police officer, the villainous policewoman,
yeah.
who she must be able to drop her voice a few octaves and heard some yes. Again,
Well,
Naked Gun, mate.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to shame this woman, but she looks fairly blokish anyway with a wig. But I'm sure she's not. But she's just made to look kind of, um,
She actually had quite a career, Matt, playing that sort of character. So again, like Brian Thompson, I think, as you said, you don't want to be disparaging, but I think
yeah.
she capitalised on her looks as slightly, and she got a number of roles as a nasty piece of work female villain.
Mm. So yeah. So anyway, so we then cut back to the hospital. Now Brian is there. He's dressed up as an orderly. He goes into a store cupboard. Well, he's hiding in a store cupboard, right? He's behind some shelves, right? So that the camera is facing us as we look on. Brian is behind some shelves here. Now, an orderly, one of the other. So we've seen one nurse, one security guard, and one orderly at this point on the level where they are you know, in our typical not manned hospital, conveniently at the moment. This like janitor bloke goes in to the storeroom. He walks past where Brian is standing behind the shelf. Like he comes in like this. He then walks around, goes to pick up a box, and Brian leans through the boxes and stabs him in the. I'm like, hey, how did you not notice the big dude? I mean, he's a big dude. He's not like he's got big boots on. They keep doing close-ups on him. He's a big dude. You just walked past him. Literally, you walked past him. He was there to your side anyway. So he
Matt, but
gets
picking
killed.
up on
So
what you've just said, that continues when he walks out
yeah,
with his little cleaning kit and everything. There's this like 6'4" meanest face looking
yeah,
cleaner you've ever seen wandering around, and it's the one nurse, as you said, that goes, hey, he's cleaning late, isn't he? I mean, not the fact that he's like the Incredible Hulk wandering around. It's like, he's late cleaning. I think we need to check this. And as you said, at that point, because I know what you're going to allude to later when all the alarms go off and everything, there's patients and staff galore, but at the moment, she's looking round for someone to actually
yeah.
tell,
There's
why is
there's
there
no
a
one.
cleaner here? It's empty.
Yeah, there is no one around. The other thing is when he kills the guy in the cupboard, he kills him and just takes his glasses. He's like, I'm going to make myself not look so suspicious. Let me put on somebody else's glasses, who's also in the same outfit that I'm in, who is the actual cleaner, who they probably also would have seen. I mean, anyway. We then get another hospital lift scene. I mean, hospital lifts in these action films are a great source of comedy. So Brian's in the lift. He somehow knows where well, I suppose the female cop has told him, but he knows the layout of the hospital really well because he's got in the lift and he's standing there trying to look inconspicuous as 6 foot because he's got the glasses on that go 90 him and make him look, obviously not at all threatening. And this nurse gets in and has a go at him because he's got the mop bucket with him. She has a go at him and said, "You're not meant to use this lift. You're meant to use the other lift, the cargo lift or whatever it's called." So she says, "You're meant to use that lift. You should use the stairs next time." He's got a mop and a bucket, love. He can't. That's the whole point. He's in a lift. He might be in the wrong lift, but don't tell him to go up the stairs. Anyway, he doesn't take too well to this. So he reaches into his back pocket and he has his knife ready. And he's just about. Why he waits, I don't know. He literally waits and the door's open and off she toddles. And she says, "Use the stairs next time." I mean, she has a lucky escape. Anyway, he then goes. And manages to go in the wrong room, and he makes a load of noise, which Ingrid can hear, and she goes to the toilet. When she comes out of the toilet, she hears him in the next room, and he stabs. And he goes through and stabs this empty bed, if I remember it correctly. And then in the next scene, the nurse comes in because she's having a look around. The security guard's disappeared at this point, and she's now looking around, and there's all these drawn like shower curtains everywhere, which I suppose are the bit. So she's going like that. You're like, if you think there's somebody in there about to do you damage, why are you trying to do the surprise? Because you're going to get hurt. Anyway, she comes across this one bed when she gets through about 3 curtains, and she looks at the bed, and there's a person laying there, but next to them in the bed, and this is entirely random, and I don't know why he's done it. The mop is in the bed next to the person, but there's blood stains on the mop. It's like, did he slash the mop's neck and it bled? I don't know, but it's really random. Anyway, she's just about to lift the covers, and Brian reaches out from underneath the bed. Again, I think he's a bit bigger than the underneath the bed. I think his feet would be sticking out. How she didn't notice him, I
especially
don't
when
know.
we've had all these huge boot shots. Can you imagine the boots at
Yes,
the bottom of the bed,
yeah,
2 feet stuck out there? It's
yeah.
like
And we've got another boot shot coming in a minute, which is even more silly and out of place. So yeah, so he grabs the nurse, obviously does over the nurse. Now Ingrid is panicking at this point. So she's like, what do I do? So she's literally just come out of a toilet and she's wondering what to do. And Brian's coming into the room. So what does she do? She ducks down. Now they do this shot underneath the bed, and there's a pair of Adidas boxing boots. Obviously a nudge to Rocky, but they're white. She's not wearing them. They're boxing boots. They're literally like high. But I was like, has somebody got a shoe fetish going on here? I don't know what's going on, but it's really random, completely priced. Anyway, she then decides he gets into the room. She realizes hiding under the bed that she's going to get found. So she runs back into the toilet. Now, this is a very key moment because she opens the door outwards, goes in, shuts the door. Brian comes running in to try and get her, tries to push the outdoor in. He's literally going, "I can't open the door." It's pull it, mate. You just have to pull it. She hasn't even locked it yet. Just pull the door. And he's struggling with the door. And it's an absolutely, it's like the Shining done by the Naked Gun, literally. I mean, he then starts stabbing through the door, and she's trying to open the opposite side, but there's some medical equipment blocking it, and she's sort of shoving it out. He's trying to get through. So in the end, he puts his boot through it, and so we get another shot of a boot going through the door, and he's breaking down the door and then doing this slashing thing, and she's just out of range. She manages to get out and run through the other side of the empty hospital, and she hits the fire alarm button. And this is when, where has everybody been hiding? Oh, they've been keeping 20 people in every single room because all of a sudden the doors fling open. And what I can only describe as every extra in Hollywood, so in a costume, suddenly pours out of all these doors. There's literally like 100 people in the corridor in the space of like 2 minutes. And she's in the middle of it, and Brian realizes the game's up, so off he goes. And Stallone has finally got to the hospital after driving like a maniac, no traffic, drives like a maniac, gets there, runs upstairs, and he sees her because she's like the tallest female in the room. And he walks up to her and just off they go.
And Matt,
And
this is my problem with the rest of the film. After we mentioned the beginning, the hospital attack, you've torn to shreds in terms of the comedic elements,
yeah,
but when it's meant to be, there is no tension there, is there? Because of
no,
these things that underscore there's no tension. Even Dan, as you said, you mentioned The Shining. Again, we're on the same page. The moment where Bridget is wondering whether she's still there, and she puts her face close
yeah,
to the door, and then suddenly the blade comes through, just missing her eye, and she screams. So she redoubles the efforts to get out the other side, and then as he's slashing, as you said, it's just missing her. These should be moments of absolute terror, but there's just no tension there. And it's undercut at every stage, as you've rightly mentioned, with the way the kills are done. The comedic moment with the little old lady, you use the stairs. The fact that the hospital is 100% virtually empty until that alarm's hit. And I love the way then that Brian just sort of like stands up straight, tucks his chin in, and just walks out as if to say, nobody notices me, I'm just the cleaner, out we go. And as you said, Stallone reaches there. The only thing I will say is, as bad as that sequence is, what we're moving on to, they virtually redeem it with Stallone decides he's got to look after her personally because, nobody's listening to him. They get in his superb motor and we have the wonderful 80s car chase. I mean, they throw everything at that car chase because they still want, the gang still want her, they still want to get her. They're all there waiting. And for me, that car chase epitomizes that everything about the 80s with the going on the sidewalk, all the pedestrians that see it last second jumping everywhere, explosions, the chases, the firing. I'll let you continue, Matt, but for me, I forgave them the hospital scene because suddenly we get this monumental car chase.
yeah. And the thing about this film is it's very tight. It's very closely edited. Stallone actually did a very good job. It's only 87 minutes, and so. And I've kind of alluded to this, but here's the thing about Cobra that nobody talks about. There was supposedly a 2 hour work print cut floating around somewhere in the Warner Brothers vault. There's 2 hours. So all these sequences are longer. The theatrical cut we got is 87 minutes. So that potentially means 33 minutes of Stallone being even more Stallone and the film being even more violent than we've ever seen. I mean, does it exist? Who knows? There's talk of it. Some people say yes, some people say no. But the fact that this rumor has persisted for nearly 4 decades tells you everything about the film's cult status at this point. And one of the things is this car sequence is bigger and longer. There's a whole section of him going sideways down at things and over stuff. I mean, the car chase is really cool because Gonzalez is with the female cop who's with the New World Order, and they managed to ram their car just so I mean, she must have known it was coming, but just to keep them off track. And then this car chase happens. Now, while the car chase is great, and it is a really good car chase, there's stuff getting smashed up. Um, the physics of the shooting that's going on is a little bit off. We'll come to that in a second, but also Stallone's got a key witness in the car, right? Now, rather than trying to evade Brian and his mates who are behind him, so there's two cars, there's two like pickup trucks, one in front, one in behind. Instead of trying to evade these and get away, because he has the key witness in the car, he just tells her to buckle up in this like super duper seatbelt that looks like they're going to take off and go to space. And he starts chasing them and smashing the cars up and starts shooting. Now, at one point, Stallone does a handbrake turn, spins the car around, gets his gun out of the window, right? His weird sub Uzi, which seems to have endless bullets, like endless bullets. He the people who are behind him, who one is the co-passenger who's got a gun and is shooting the back of his car, which is getting annoying him because it's damaging his car. This guy is hitting the car, whatever. But this guy is like, the other guy's driving, so he hasn't got to concentrate. Stallone, handbrake turn, still steering the car in reverse down a freeway, right? Avoiding cars that are there. fires his Uzi thingy Madoodah, and blows up. Not just hits this car, it explodes to the point where the entire shell of the car burns out. You just see the small frame of the wheels and stuff, and it hits the ground. So these poor guys are incinerated, and without missing a beat, going back in the car, handbrake turn, bosh. We're going after Brian. Absolutely bananas. And then he starts shooting at Brian. Brian's co-pilot shooting at him. We suddenly cut from the freeway. You don't see them come off the freeway. It just suddenly cuts to like a quayside, which looks like the quayside from Raw Deal. But again, I cannot confirm or deny that this is where it is. Again, I need to do a little bit more research. But anyway, so and also the quayside from not Mark for Death, from Hard to Kill, where it obviously these shooting places are pretty much the same. Anyway, so they're spinning around, they're doing all this, and it ends up with Stallone absolutely trashing his car. He goes up in the air, flies through this thing, um, and Brian manages to escape. I should also point out that Brian's driving is shocking because every single thing that is in front, he hits. There's like people on. He goes onto the pavement at one point, and there's all these people running out of the way. And this kid has a bike, and he drops the bike to get out of the way. He drives through the bike, hits the bike, then goes through the postal thing, and then hits a bin. He
Little
literally
portable
steers into
market
it.
stall. Little portable
Yeah,
market stall, isn't there, with the little
he's
that goes
he
as
steers
well.
into all of it. It's like, mate, go round it. You're damaging your anyway. So Brian gets away. But it is. I rip it a little bit, but it is a really, really good car chase, as we've
Yeah,
said.
in context,
Um,
that's what I'm saying. If you don't look at the logic, just the filming of it, the dynamics, it's superb. But also, you and I have discussed this previously. The third act, the final third
mm,
act, is just non-stop action. And but the setup to it is very Naked Gun again. So we've had all this. They're all in the office. Andy Robinson, Rennie, his captain, and the police chief. And they're still all going, really? It's a gang, it's all the... What more proof do they need? The whole of the city has had a car chase with loads of villains. Cars have been blown up. Streets have been wrecked, and they're going... And eventually the police chief goes... And this is the chief, he goes, do you know what? I think he's as mad as the rest of you, but if he wants to take her out of town, at least that'll get rid of the problem. We don't have to listen to this lunatic anymore. He's obviously not making sense. Let him take her out of town. It's someone else's problem. How much more did they need to actually go, he might have a point here? But instead, the police chief actually gives him permission to take her out of town because he can't be asked with the problem anymore. And that's how we set up the move to the motel, and the whole finale is because the police chief says it'll be someone else's problem. What an idiot. This guy just makes no sense.
yeah. So
They
the
just don't
beginning of
get
the
it ever.
Yeah, so the beginning of the discussion in the where he's at, where the police chief's having a go at them, he's literally saying, "I'm going to take you off the case, Cobretti." Within the space of 2 minutes, he's going, "Yeah, take her out of town. Don't worry, we won't write anything down. Just you, Gonzalez, and the lady go with you." And because you're thinking, right, so the lady's meant to be with Bridget, because male female thing, because there is a lot of misogyny going on in this film still. And so yeah, so they go, and we get another one of these silly montages where they're getting ready to drive off and they're doing the I was half expecting the theme from Vacation to hit as they're driving down the road. So yeah, and then we cut back to the night slashers axe banging cult, who are once again here banging axes like they're warming up for the world's saddest Viking cosplay competition. And to be quite honest, at this point, this cult looks like a group that got kicked out of CrossFit for being too sweaty and not paying the membership. But they look like they're in the warehouse, sorry, the factory. Because when I originally watched this, I thought that where they end up at the end in the factory is the factory where they're hiding out. I got very confused when I saw it. I was obviously too young to pay attention properly. But anyway, yeah, so they're in another random factory. They obviously quite like factories. Um, so yeah, so we're with the dudes. Society's collapsing, so let's hit metal sticks together until we get tinnitus. Inspiring stuff. And they then decide to find like 1,000 motorbikes. There's only like 20 of them in the room, but there's now suddenly loads of them, and they all pile off, following stealthily. A great big like Hell's Angel enclave coming down the road. And we get this whole thing of them driving. They stop at this motel, and we then get the revelation of the movie. I mean, just to completely turn the whole action genre on its head, that Cobretti's first name is Marion.
Did you find out anything new?
Since you were in the bathroom, no. No, not really.
I did.
Like what?
Marion Cobretti. Is that really your name?
Gonzalez talks too much, doesn't he?
Like, we're meant to be like, it's meant to be earth shattering. I mean, I
It's another
presume.
little link there, Matt. And Marion,
Yeah.
I don't think is any coincidence because John Wayne's real name.
Exactly. This is what I was going to say. I think this is where, because Stallone described this film as a Western in modern era when he was writing it. So, yes, I think the Marion thing is obviously a nod to John Wayne, which is what I was going to say to you as well. But again, the factory of stupid character names, Marion Cobretti is the most, is up there with John Matrix. It's just stupid. But, I'm not going to tell them that.
But Matt,
So, in this sequence,
when we talk about the last third being,
yeah,
when we talk about the last third being all action,
yeah.
except for their sort of like cementing of their love interest for each other in the motel before obviously he reveals an arsenal that the army just hasn't got. Their bonding in the motel. I've got a job to say it with a straight face. Bridget looks at him and she goes, "Have you ever been in love?" And Stallone actually goes, "You mean with a real woman?" I mean, what do you make of that statement? Do you mean with a real woman? I mean, I've got this doll. I mean, and she goes, "Yes,"
Well,
and it's just like, and then of course she goes on the bed and he's looking to protect her and she goes, "Oh, I'm feeling so nervous. Can you come over here and sit with me?" This whole bonding,
yeah.
they're going to be lovers. It's cringe beyond belief. It's just so awful.
It is terrible. I mean, but just before they get to this hotel room, so this was what I was talking about the changing shirts, right? In this sequence, Stallone has this blue check shirt, and I don't know why I'm doing fashion tips in Get to the Cheddar, but I'm just going through. He has this blue check shirt on with the black tight top. He's gone from the red top to the black top. He's got this blue check shirt on, right? Before the sequence ends, so they're at like this, there's like this toys thing. And Stallone says this really stupid thing to the woman as he walks off. He's fiddling around with this bobblehead and he goes, "You made no sale." It was like really random, really odd. She just sort of goes at him. By the end of the sequence, he's back in his olive coat and the blue check shirt is nowhere to be seen. So the continuity just out the window. So again, as I had alluded to, this extended cut, there is obviously more to this whole sequence. There apparently is a sequence where she talks about the trouble of being a model in real life and all that, but thank goodness they took that out. But yes, the awkwardness between the two of them in this room is because the other thing that made me think, why is she staying with him? They brought a female police officer. Surely she should be in the room with the police officer, female police officer, and he should be with Gonzalez. It seems a bit odd because now Gonzalez, who I don't think is romantically linked to the female police officer, is sharing a room with her, who she's romantically linked kind of to the night slasher. It's all very bizarre. And why doesn't she do away with Gonzalez in the room? I don't know. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. There is a lot going on here, which is probably for an entirely different kind of podcast. But the thing that I thought when he said about a real woman, maybe the reason he's so upset at Brian Thompson, maybe he was having a thing with the mop, and when he killed the mop, that's why he's really. And it's actually a revenge thriller. Um,
But Matt, let's
so
be honest. Once we get beyond that awful motel scene, one of the things you and I, when we've talked about this film in the past, have agreed on, from that point, the action is non-stop. And for both of us, we felt that it pays real sort of like homage to Mad Max The Road Warrior, isn't it? It
yeah,
really is suddenly like we're seeing Mad Max 2 again with the way that the setup, the bikers, the truck. I'll let you take it from there, but we both agreed that when it wants to give you the big ending, you can't fault it for trying.
yeah. I mean, so here we go. So they're leaving the motel in the morning, and Stallone looks to his right, and he's already cottoned on that the female cop is dodgy because she was in the phone box, and he questions her the night before and says, "Why are you making the phone call from here?" And she goes, "Oh, the phone in the room wasn't working." And he's like, "All right." So he's clearly figured it out because he's like, ultra clever. He's already figured out the whole case anyway. That's just cemented it for him. So so it's the next morning. He turns to the right and hears the motorbikes coming because he's doing this whole Schwarzenegger can smell people coming, he can hear them coming from like 5 miles off, this whole bionic thing. It's getting out of hand, but anyway, yeah, so these bikers will turn up, and that's when Stallone goes, "Where's," and I can't remember the female police officer's name, he goes, "Where is she?" And she's over sort of waving to the bikers, and it's confirmed everything Stallone knows. So instead of shooting her, um, Stallone tells them to get on, get in this van thing, the pickup truck, and lets Brigitte Nielsen drive because Gonzalez gets shot early on in the leg. So he's out of the picture now. So now it's just the two of them evading the hordes. So anyway, so off they drive. They're zooming off down the road. Nobody knows where they're going. There's We're not going to go into this whole sequence, but this sequence is one of the famed longer sequences with there are bikes flying everywhere. There are motorbike helmets coming off. There are people going in down verges. Like you said, very Mad Mag-esque. They eventually manage to stop the pickup truck, which sort of rumbles down into a verge. They jump off because Stallone is on the back with his submachine gun shooting everybody, and it's like, again, unlimited bullets, and they're all popping off all and everywhere. They stop by an orangery. So they're running through the orange fields, and there's one of the New World guys. He literally gets ahead of them, and he's standing there lining up a shot on Stallone. They're standing there walking through. They're by like this tractor thing, and they're standing there. And this guy's got a dead-on shot. He doesn't take the shot. He waits until Stallone moves, and then gets in the trees, and he can't shoot him. And then he shoots and misses. It is. It's yeah. I mean, these guys they want to build a new society, but none of them look like they can build flat pack furniture without starting a fire. I mean, it's
Matt, this
it
is the
is.
thing. This is the thing. This is what you've alluded to is the problem I feel with a lot of 80s filmmaking that went on into the 90s through VHS and then DVD is the fact that you and I have also previously discussed that final confrontation in terms of the Mad Max style bikers should be, rewind, rewatch, want to watch it again. But alongside the gun, the extra special machine gun that he's got an unlimited supply of grenades that he happens to have as
Oh,
well.
forgot about them. Yeah.
And what happens is you've just hit the nail on the head. The banality, the useless nature of all these bikers, their inability to shoot straight,
Mm.
like stormtroopers in Star Wars, whatever you want to say, and Stallone hitting with every shot, and then the stunt work, the real logistics of it, the lack of CGI. You've got to praise them. The guys are absolutely amazing. But as cinema, as tension, I got bored. It became
Mm.
repetitive. There's another biker. The stunt itself, oh my God, hats off to that man or woman. It's incredible. But you end up just thinking, there's another idiot. Oh, there's another one gone. There's another one. Oh, just round the corner, just when you think that's it, there's 40 more bikes appeared. So
Yeah.
many bikes and so many bikes, as you said, you're right. We see about 20, 30 people in the factory, but we must have nearly 100 by the time they're all done on these bikes. None of them can shoot. The stunts are incredible, but they're so repetitive. Any tension is taken away. And the icing on the cake, as you mentioned, is the absolute idiocy of the guy in the orangery. I mean, what made him think this was his line of work? You know.
Exactly. Just go and pick some of the oranges. Would have been quicker.
Yes.
Um, so this is the next thing. We're getting to the factory. This is the finale. We're coming in for a landing. I'm trying not to make this episode longer than the actual film itself. So so we get to the factory, and we then most of these bikers just disappear. There's only like six of them that actually make it into the factory with Brian and with the female cop. So these are in there. So then, you know, I mean, again, the idiot things that the leftover bikers do, right? I mean, these guys have been talking about purifying society. I mean, half of them look like they'd lose a fight with a recycling bin, for goodness sake. And so they're going through, and it goes all first blood, right? So he's hiding. He puts a grenade up on the side. They come wandering in, and he shoots a grenade. Boom, they're dead. Doesn't take out half the factory. Bearing in mind it's an explosive device, and it looks like the factory from the Terminator. Actually, is what it actually looks like. It's Terminator, or and that was LA, so it could be that one. Anyway, because you got the sparks flying and the molten sort of looking all very cool. Um, he then
Nobody
he
working there though.
no, nobody worked. No, no, no. There is. There's like a police officer there. Um,
Oh,
well, he looks like a security guard, but he's a police officer. He's standing in the control room, and then they walk in and shoot him. And they shoot through him, and it sets all the machines off because the machines weren't working at this point. But they shoot him and shoot the panel behind him, and it sets all the machines off. So we've then got we've got sparks flying everywhere and all this, and sort of mood green, blue lighting, oranges, and Anyway, so away we go. So these guys are trying to find Stallone. Two of them walk down this walkway, and Stallone just turns this valve, and all these flames shoot up. So they've literally just walked through the incinerator. I mean, how stupid can you be? Oh dear. I mean, oh goodness sake. These literally, right? They're the only villains in cinema history where you look at them and think Cobra doesn't even need a gun. He could just get a hose or something and just batter them to death with that. It wouldn't even be hard. Anyway, so he's taken them out. There's about 4 or 5 of them. He does the jumping out of nowhere and with the the first blood thing, and then he gets down to what he thinks is just Brian. Then the female cop jumps out of nowhere. How he didn't see her, I don't know. But he throws her off and whatever, and we think she's done, but she's not. She comes back for the fatal attraction, jump scare, and then she does finally get shot. And then he gets into this really good fight with Brian, which is mostly them sort of doing this, and then they get into the fight. And it's quite quick. Apparently, there is a longer version of it. It's quite quick, and again, the Night Slasher's got his knife. Stallone had his gun, which gets knocked out of his hand. Now, throughout this entire fight sequence, his Cobra gun is sitting in his belt, in his jeans top, all the way through this fight. They're fighting. He's scrabbling around trying to. Why didn't you just pull his gun out and shoot him? It's really weird. It's like literally sitting there. Anyway, it ends with Brian getting lifted up and put on this giant hook, like a meat hook, and then he's carried off into the incinerator. There you go, all done. And again, Night Stalker really sweating at this point, but it is, to be fair to him, it is quite warm in there. But anyway, so he's been hung on this hook. He's dead. Yeah, and that's kind of it. They sort of wander out for the denouement outside,
the
and
denouement. The denouement is, again, when we talk about absolutely perfect 80s style, everything is wrapped up beautifully. Stallone is vindicated. All his bosses are there, almost forming like a wall of honor, clapping and go, well, "You're the man." Reni Santoni, he's alive. I mean, think about the distance between where they started, where Reni was shot, and where they ended.
I don't know where
the
they were.
ambulance is there. Reni's in
And
the
the helicopter.
ambulance at the factory. Why
And
did
the
they not
helicopter.
take him straight to the hospital? Did he say, "No, take me to see Cobretti first"? So he's there as well, which makes absolutely no sense. And they talk about diet, and he lets him go. Andy comes up to him, "Hey, Cobretti, I got to be honest, you did the job. I'd have done it differently to get the same result, but no hard feelings." They shake hands, and then Stallone plays the perfect tribute to Burt Reynolds' film Hooper.
No hard feelings, pal.
Don't know where it came from. Might have been one of the biker boy stuff, but not his truck. Stallone's got a huge bike there that he says to Brigitte, "Hop on." And then we get the camera slowly moving us away as they drive off on this bike that he's got the keys to. They finally taking Reni to the hospital. He's had a nice detour to this factory. The bosses are still there throwing roses as they're going. And we get the end. What more could you ask for, Matt?
Well, let's roll it back just a few moments, right? So, as you alluded to, Gonzalez, right? He's not on the ambulance. They're putting him on a gurney.
Yeah.
So he's either wandered down the road, which was like 5 miles. Who knows how he got there? Unless he found another car. Maybe that was his bike. Who knows? He's managed to get it, or maybe the police chiefs picked him up on the way through. But again, right? So there's the two police chiefs. There's Andy Robinson. There's Gonzalez. There's a helicopter. There's ambulances, fire trucks, and a couple of cop cars. Why didn't anybody go and help him? He's literally in the factory. They're all standing outside going, God, he's taking his time today, isn't he? God. Anyway, so yeah, he stumbles out. Now, the original ending that Stallone wanted was him doing the first blood, wandering off lone lone wolf into the sunset thing. But no, we get this utterly ridiculous third big power ballad driving off up and down the hills with the credits rolling, and it comes back. It look actually, do you know what? I actually thought that was the bike from Rocky Three, but again, I could be wrong. But as they take off on the motorbike, right? So he's just assaulted and Andrew Robinson, who's standing there going like this, sort of
Yeah.
just off the side of the shot, adjusting his jaw. As they get on the bike and ride off, the two bosses are standing there. They must have seen him just physically assault this guy, and they're just like, I've been wanting to do
It's
that for ages.
Cabrini.
Yeah, it's Cabretti. He might shoot us, or some. Well, he won't. He'll leave the gun in there because it looks cool. But they drive up. But as they drive off on the bike, the helicopter takes off, right? And I swear to God, it must have missed them by about that much. If you go back and watch this end bit, the helicopter comes up like, and the bike's like there. It was. I was like, "Ooh," like that when I was watching. Anyway, so yes, and so there we go. Off they go. And we get a jolly tune again. Sounds like the vacation theme. So it actually sounds a bit like Bruce Springsteen, but I don't think it is Bruce Springsteen. And
No, it wouldn't be
yeah,
Bruce.
no. Well, it sounds like him though. It's kind of I'm surprised it wasn't Frank. I mean, Frank usually does all his soundtracks, so so I'm
Yeah.
surprised it wasn't him. But yeah, so Art LaFleur, the other boss, his face is just hilarious throughout that end bit. He's just like it's like he's standing waiting for a shot scene on set, and he hasn't realised they're actually filming, and he's just sort of standing like,
Matt, Art LaFleur, how many times have we seen him in fantastic B movies, straight to
yeah,
video, straight to DVD, as the police chief or an army sergeant or a detective? Art LaFleur
yeah,
is one of these classy guys that you look at his resume, he's probably got 100 and odd films on there. But as you said, he's got that face, he's got that look. And he'll be in anything for the money. I mean, I think he was in Zone Troopers. Oh, you name it. There's
yeah.
Trancers with Tim Thomerson. During the 80s and 90s, this man was always fourth or fifth down the cast list if it was a police thriller or a sci-fi one. And you've just reminded me, yeah, it's good to name check that man. Well done, Matt. Yeah.
Mm. He's brilliant. I mean, yeah. So I've finally found my notes because we don't do this all from memory. Everybody, this is that we do actually have notes. Yeah. So Cobra made 49 million at the box office on a 25 million budget, which is actually is solid numbers.
Yeah.
But the critics destroyed this film on release. I know we've kind of played with it a bit, but. It's good. I mean, excessive violence, corny dialogue. I mean, you've even got fascist undertones, which we haven't really mentioned, but the
Yeah.
whole it is kind of a bit fascist. And you fast forward to now, right? Arrow have released this 4K release, which is what I watched it on, and it's in Dolby Vision. It looks incredible. And again, I have to say, this is not an advert, but I would suggest if you want to watch this film, if you don't have it digitally or whatever, and you've got 4K, watch it in 4K. It looks like it was made yesterday, apart from the actual film itself, which was quite clearly made in the 80s. But on the Arrow release, they've got the TV cut. It's in standard definition, but because there's several cuts of this film that are floating around. Now they've got the TV cut, right, which is even more hilarious than this version because it's so heavily censored. It's literally like watching a different film. I mean, all the bad language is cut out, all the sort of you sort of see him go with a knife, but you don't see what he stabs, all this kind of stuff. Um, but what's missing is this 2 hour cut. It's not on the Arrow disc, right? And either Arrow couldn't find it, or Warner haven't released it, or the footage is missing, right? Either way, the legend of this film continues. So, in summing up, you know, I, I I actually have. I never used to like Cobra. I've got to say, it's a bit like as torturing as Raw Deal, which we'll have to do at another point. When I first saw it, I was like, but you go back to it. Actually, this film is really good because this film actually is as underrated as Stallone's Nighthawks, which again was a dark, gritty thriller. had Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian in it, and Rutger Hauer. This is a film actually we should probably do at some point, Nighthawks, because Nighthawks is great. And this is what I realised. I watched Cobra and I've watched Nighthawks, and I've realised these are probably better films. They're certainly better than Rambo First Blood Part 2. It's better, definitely better than Rambo 3, even though I have a soft spot for Rambo 3. Again, we should probably do a whole mini series and get to Chedda on Stallone's films. But that's the idea. We're going to get to them eventually. Um, but I really appreciate Cobra now because it's not just straight up. Well, it is at the end. It descends into sort of commando territory at the end, but it's more gritty. It's a bit more, Stallone's. It's a bit more hard edged. Obviously, like we said, there's obviously bits missing where he wanted the romance between him and Ingrid was meant to be a bit more edgy, and there's apparently lots of violence they cut out. Uh, I think when the MPAA told Stallone to tone it down, I think he meant the volume, not the violence. It was, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So that's kind of me with Cobra. I do enjoy Cobra. So, Mr. Malcolm Martin, my Ministry of Malevolent Violence, where are we with Cobra? Where is
I've
your
got very
cheddar rating?
I've got very distinct views on this, Matt. As I said, for someone seeing it first time around as a much younger man, heavily influenced by Stallone and Schwarzenegger, the style of it, absolutely incredible. As I said, in marketing terms, it was a dream. If you want your action heroes to be your heroes and you want that fan hero worship, you mentioned it right at the beginning. And as I said, I think your initial intro to this film is so spot on in the sense that with the matchsticks, the
I
shades,
was
the
actually going to
colour,
have one
the
for this, but I
colour,
forgot.
the gun, the tailor-made gun, even the
Mm.
promotional material, the Cobra poster is still iconic. Yeah, everything about that oozes style. The
Yeah,
one-liners are perfect for the trend in the 80s. And I mean, as far as one-liners goes, these are up there with the very best of Schwarzenegger, with the very best of Bruce Willis.
mm.
As a young man, though, who is a good bit older than you, Matt, I was also a
No, you're
teenager when
not.
the original Dirty Harry came out.
Yeah,
And when you look at the two together, Eastwood and Stallone, Dirty Harry and Cobra, Dirty Harry is my benchmark for virtually every cop film that follows.
mm.
So, looking at it in terms of like straight criticism, it's a midpoint five,
Yeah.
six.
Hmm.
As what we do, get to the cheddar, cheese
Yeah.
fest, pure entertainment. It's right up there with our choices, Roadhouse and Commando. So for me, minimum 9, maybe 9.5. For what you and I are after, this hits all the marks.
Absolutely. I mean, I was probably 8, 9, so I think we're going to agree in the middle and say it's a 9.
Yeah, yeah, a 9.
It's not Commando. Commando is still the benchmark. But like we said, Roadhouse utterly stunning. So yeah, Cobra is another one of these big films, and RoboCop obviously as well. So this cluster of four. This is probably Stallone's, dare I say, best 80s action in hindsight. At the
Mm,
time, maybe not, but in hindsight, actually, it's it's pretty there. Cobra, it sits in this weird place with Nighthawks. It's another underrated Stallone cop film that nobody gave proper respect to at the time. Both films were too violent, too stylized, and too much, as we said with the motorbikes and stuff. But as we were saying, too much is exactly what the 80s action should be.
mm.
And speaking of too much, next time on Get to the Cheddar, we're going to dive into Steven Seagal's Marked for Death.
Steven Seagal, marked for death.
Are you some kind of cop?
Nah, I'm just a concerned citizen.
Because if you thought Stallone's fashion choices were bold, wait until you see what Mr. Steven Seagal brings to the table. So, everybody, until next time, make sure you get to the cheddar. See you next time.